I hope everyone made it through Camelot. Soberoni of G&A Reviews here with a servant spotlight for everyone's favorite Lion King, Lancer Arturia. We'll be examining her stats and skills, as well as going over pointers on how to utilize her effectively and an overall grade comparing her to how she stacks up to the other 5-star servants. I also have a spotlight out for Mosh, so do check that out right after this. But now, on to Arturia's stats. Lancer Arturia has a max HP of 15,606, which is the second highest HP stat among all Lancer servants and the fourth highest HP stat in the game, so very high HP, and her max attack of 10,995 is average for a 5-star Lancer, and when factoring in the 1.05 damage modifier for Lancers, her attack becomes 11,544, which is average for a 5-star servant. Taking a look at her skills, her first skill is Mana Burst rank A, which increases her Buster Card effectiveness for one turn between 30 to 50% depending on level. Her second skill is Charisma rank B, which increases the attack of all allies for 3 turns between 9 and 18% depending on level. And finally, her last skill is Protection of the World's End rank EX, which increases her NP gauge between 30 to 50% depending on level and also removes all debuffs. For her passives, she has Magic Resistance rank B, which increases debuff resist by 17.5%, and Riding rank A, which increases quick card effectiveness by 10%. Taking a look at her deck and Noble Phantasm, she has a Quick Buster deck with Quick Arts Buster, and a Buster Noble Phantasm. Her Noble Phantasm is Ronmayanad, which ignores invincibility and evade for one turn, and deals heavy AoE damage to all enemies with between a 300 and 500% damage modifier. It also increases her Noble Phantasm gauge after use between 20 to 60% depending on overcharge. Taking a closer look at her cards, we see that her quick card hits 3 times, her arts hits twice, her buster hits 1 time, and her extra attack hits 5 times. She has a Noble Phantasm gain rate of 1.1% and a star rate of 12.2%. She has strong Noble Phantasm gain due to the 5-hit extra and strong Noble Phantasm gain rate, and above average star generating due to the 2 3-hit quick cards in her deck. Lancer Arturia actually sports some very good stats, managing to still have respectable attack and one of the highest HP stats in the game. Her Noble Phantasm gain and star generating are also both above average. As for her skill set, it's very similar to her Saber counterpart. First and foremost, she packs a Mana Burst, which remains one of the best self buffs in the game. It can significantly increase the damage output of your Noble Phantasm, and she also has the same Charisma skill as Saber Arturia, Charisma rank B, which gives a respectable 18% buff to all allies on a short cooldown. This gives Lancer Arturia some good utility with a means of raising your entire party's damage consistently. Where Lancer Arturia differs from her Saber counterpart is in her third skill, Protection of World's End. This skill is way better than Instinct. The massive Noble Phantasm charge really complements Lancer Arturia's high Noble Phantasm gain and her Noble Phantasm overcharge effect, allowing her to NP spam very easily and oftentimes NP twice in a row, giving her some really good DPS. It also removes all debuffs, which is a strong option to have on your damage dealer, especially for more challenging content. As for skill order, you should always max out Mana Burst first because that's your primary offensive tool. After that, I recommend leveling Protection from World's End for the better NP charge and shorter cooldown, and then finally Charisma. Although you can level Charisma before Protection from World's End if you value more attack power and team utility. Lancer Arturia's Noble Phantasm has the notable effect of piercing, evade, and invincibility, as many of you who beat Camelot already know. This gives her good utility against archers, especially because they often have evade. Her Noble Phantasm recharges your Noble Phantasm gauge after use depending on your overcharge, and at 400% overcharge you can even Noble Phantasm twice in a row if you're using Protection from World's End. So you should aim to use this Noble Phantasm at the end of a Noble Phantasm chain in order to maximize the spamming potential. Unfortunately though, it is an AoE Noble Phantasm with no interlude, so the damage on it is very low. You want to set up Lancer Arturia to NP spam as much as possible to compensate for the low damage, and thankfully that isn't hard to do with her Noble Phantasm charge skill and good NP gain. Because of this, she's a very strong farmer, one of the best farming Lancers in the game. However, where Lancer Arturia really suffers aside from the low Noble Phantasm damage, is her lack of defense. Very similar to Saber Arturia, while she has very high HP, it's irrelevant because she has no defense skills whatsoever to take advantage of it. Without a taunt, guts, evade, invincibility, or heal, you'll find Lancer Arturia is not as tanky as her high HP would lead you to believe. In addition, while she does have some decent team utility thanks to Charisma, it is the older version of Charisma that has since been power creeped. Many servants at all varying rarities offer a stronger version of Charisma by now, so while Arturia's Charisma isn't bad, it isn't outstanding or notable either. Arturia works best in an offensive team where she can be paired alongside another offensive servant that she can support with Charisma and additional damage. Servants like Gil, Rama, Bedivere, Mordred, Nobu, Tesla, Drake, or Iskander. You'll also want to have a buffer to increase Arturia's damage, so bring Hans, Waver, Nero Bride, Nightingale, Shakespeare, Leonidas, Caesar, Helena, Shuten, or Liz. And finally, defensive supports like Maj, Iris Veal, Media Lily, Tamamo, and Jean can help keep you alive. Lancer Arturia's Bond Craft Essence is King's Horse, which increases the attack and NP strength of all allies by 10%. This is a very nice craft essence for her, especially if you're using her in an offensive setup. It gives her more team utility. Otherwise, you'll want to go with craft essences that bolster her damage output, so Golden Sumo, Heaven's Feel, and Limited Zero are all very strong choices for damage. If you want to spam your Noble Phantasm more, then go for Kaleidoscope, Prisma Cosmos, or Divine Banquet, Kaleidoscope especially if you're farming. And finally, go with Go West, 2030, or Maiden Leading Chaldea if you want to put her in a more support-oriented role. Overall, Lancer Arturia has some all-around great stats, a useful Noble Phantasm for breaking through evade and invincibility, and the ability to spam her Noble Phantasm very easily, allowing her to be a strong farmer. On the other hand, she does suffer from an outdated skill set. Charisma in particular is not as effective as it could be when compared to other servants. She has no defensive skills, making her much less tanky than she seems despite her high HP. And because she lacks an interlude, her damage is very underwhelming. So overall, she gets a B- from me. She does make for an effective farming servant, but doesn't really do anything else spectacularly, and overall manages to just be a little below average. I think an NP interlude or strengthening quest to boost her charisma or add a defensive option to her skill set would go a long way toward improving her. And those are my thoughts on Lancer Arturia. She does play significantly different from her Alter version because she lacks a crit focus, but if you need a good farming servant, you can't go wrong with her. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and please do check out the Mosh Spotlight, linked both on screen and in the description below. And don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and consider subscribing if you really enjoyed the video. Join the party over our Discord, chill with us on Twitch, and follow us on Twitter. And I will see you all in the next Servant Spotlight. Soberoni out. Later.